Welcome to the Real Facts on Real Estate podcast, presented by Sean Patrick Moloney. In this series, we educate real estate agents on how to find success in the industry and grow their wealth to six-figure commissions and beyond. Now here is your host, Sean Moloney.
Welcome to episode 276, Creative Tactics to Win a Bidding War. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Moloney. Thanks for joining me this week. Guys, we thought the bidding wars would end someday. We thought high interest rates maybe, or inventory would rise. Truth is, we're in a very unique world where for years now, bidding wars have existed and winning them is a challenge. There's no right or wrong. There are so many different ways that the agents handle them, but today I'm going to break it down a little bit. If you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe. Also, check us out at realfactsonrealestate.com. Without further ado, let's get started. Guys, asking the seller when the best closing date for them is one of the simplest ways to add value without adding money. My goal today is to focus on ways to add value without adding money. When it comes to the seller's closing date, it matters a lot to them, especially if they have children and they're in a school system, or they maybe have someone handicapped living in the house, or they have different obligations such as a job. There's a lot of reasons that a closing date makes most sense to a seller. Now, your buyer might need a certain closing date, not much we can do there, but if they have any sort of flexibility, can live with family, can live in an apartment, can live in some other place for the time being, then it may be a great option to not need to add additional money to the offer, but to add additional terms that help out. Sellers, really honestly, it'd be hard to put a value, say like the one with kids. If they had kids and they have 2 weeks left of school, that would not be during that closing time. How much is that 2 weeks worth? So worth $2,000, $5,000, $10,000. Depends on the size of the family, how far they're moving, the complexities that are involved, the amount of family around, but the value could be massive. It could be absolutely massive. Why? Because it takes the stress down. It allows everybody to finish everything out and allows them to move seamlessly. Now, for the buyer, is it optimal? Of course not, but not everything's optimal, especially in a bidding war where people keep doing all sorts of different things to win these bidding wars. I'm trying to give you some creative ones that don't take more capital to come to the closing table. Next up is deposits. So deposits and down payments. Terms are used interchangeably, but they're not interchangeable. The deposit is money at risk. It's the money that we're putting up to say that we are going to move forward with this contract and we're going to keep our word. If we don't, you can keep the money. So it's money at risk. It's good faith money. Raising the deposit amount for buyers oftentimes can help out. A lot of buyers are very conservative, right? They're like, oh, I only want to offer $1,000, $5,000. Those are my two deposits. Well, guess what? The final line item in the contract says that the seller's sole remedy of being better is to take that deposit money if you do not keep your word, meaning they can't sue you over it, right? So if they can't sue you over it, they need to protect themselves for damages. If you think that the average transaction is going to take somewhere in the 30 to 60 days, and the time in between is going to be somewhere between 30 to 60 days, if you don't buy that house for them to market it again and sell it again, you're talking that they need coverage for their expenses for somewhere between 60 and 180 days. That's a lot of money, guys. It's the money for the taxes, the principal, the interest, all those payments they're going to have to make, heating, cooling, all the water bills, anything they're going to have to do to keep that property. You have actually asked them to continue forward with. That's going to cover it if you default. That makes them feel a lot more surety to moving forward with the deal. Old school, when everyone put 20% down, we used to always almost see everybody put 5% on that. 20% down payment on the loan, 5% on the deposits. Now, like I said, we have 3.5 down loans, we have 0 down loans, we have VA loans, all these different products that allow low down payments. People confuse that with the deposit. Say with the VA with a 0 loan, you have a 0 down payment loan. You can still have a deposit. Deposit is good faith money. That deposit can be refunded by the bank at the closing to the buyer because of the fact that they're going to do a 0 down loan. It's not stuck in the equation. So even though the deposit money is not the down payment money, at the closing, the deposit money is a credit to the buyer's side and rolls into that down payment if there is one. If not, any surplus money or excess money is going to go out in an excess check to the buyer. Only risk, if you default, you lose it. So guys, it's a great way, again, to add more value to that offer without adding more money. Now let's go over another one. Not all pre-approvals are created and treated equally. Notice I said created and treated equally. So make sure when possible to get your client fully underwritten and make sure when possible to do it with an organization that people know, like, and trust. This is one way to improve your offer without adding value when it comes to that purchase price. Now, a fully underwritten deal is so much stronger than a pre-qualification. So let's just start at the beginning. Pre-qualification, or what we often see as a pre-qualification, means that you stated different things to the bank, and based on those statements, they're willing to loan money as long as everything aligns. Then we get into the pre-approval, where some things or all things have been checked. Depending on the pre-approval letter, oftentimes it says based on your credit report, based on your pay stubs, based on the available balance in your bank account. We have based on, or we have based on your statement. We want it based on. Now, the next level up from just a pre-approval is a fully underwritten pre-approval, meaning that you've submitted everything you need, and really all the bank is waiting for is a property to align with a highly qualified buyer. Your buyer needs to keep everything the same as far as their qualifications are concerned, but they're already ready to buy a property. All they really need is an appraisal and everything to go through closing as far as the property, because they're going to align you with that property and they're going to sell you that property because you are fully underwritten. This is as close to cash, basically, as you can come as a buyer. So explaining this to the agent, the seller's agent, and letting them know, guys, this is a fully underwritten deal. As long as your property is what you said it is, we are fine. We're going to be able to close. This is just waiting for it. A lot of times these can close 2-3 weeks from the offer. Guys, you heard me right, 2 or 3 weeks. We sometimes, if we don't have a home inspection and everything, we can go right into P&S right away. We can close right away. So these are another great way to add value. Guys, that's just 3 options. There are so many creative tactics to winning a bidding war. It's important to always be studying. Realize that every single contingency, every single term is a different way to win the battle when it comes to winning the bidding war. Remember, each one's a battle that ultimately leads to the win of the war. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already done so, pound the subscribe button. Make sure to follow us on the web, realfactsonrealestate.com. I look forward to talking to you next week. If you have any episode ideas or anything else, feel free to DM, PM, or whatever works best for you. Talk to you soon.